And Tennessee State was participated in that game 6 times while I was there, a 7th after I left. And that was one of the best events of the year, the excitement around that event. There are alumni coming to our city, the bands, the game. And it had always been a goal to try and bring some of that here if we could figure out a way to do it. As you know, our scheduling matrix is so complicated that you're always sort of trying to find that opportunity. And it happened to present itself with the way this year's schedule worked out. And so when we saw the opportunity, we were thrilled when we reached out that Dr. Glover and Dr. Allen and Eddie all were enthused about the opportunity. I can't thank them enough. Father Jenkins as well. And of course, Marcus and Ron Paulus, who played a lead role in putting it together for us. It was a lot of people coming together very quickly to take advantage of the opportunity, and I think it's going to be a really special day for the University of Notre Dame and our program.
Dr. Allen, go ahead.
Yes, and so first of all, I want to thank Jack and Notre Dame officials for hosting us here today. This is a special moment. It's a special moment in the college landscape because you have a first, and it's the first time that this historic program, Notre Dame, will be playing an HBCU institution and an FCS institution. And so what that means to us is that, we have an opportunity to really expose our brand. It's an iconic brand. It's filled with a lot of history. We have a lot of passionate fans. We have a dynamic band. So there's a huge entertainment value when you talk about Tennessee State University, not only as an HBCU, but as a collegiate sports program. When you think about some of the icons, names such as Richard Dent, Joe Gilliam, Ed Too Tall Jones, and then we know that Notre Dame has their own share of icons, right? And so the house that Newt Rockne built, Jerome Bettis, and I grew up a fan, right? Chris Zorich, and so many memories were built and shared here at this iconic venue. And so when our kids have an opportunity to play on September the 2nd, 2023, they'll be ecstatic, but they'll be able to showcase what we do at Tennessee State University. And when we hired Coach Eddie George, I knew we had someone that was a high-character individual, a football mind, but someone that was going to really change our program, change the trajectory of our program, and get us back to a championship level because he pours into our young men. And, being part of that journey as the director of athletics is phenomenal to see every day. And so this game, again, is huge for our program. So many people were a part of this, making this happen. You all have a young, bright coach that I know is going to lead this program back to national prominence, and it's going to be a special day in college sports. So that's my remarks.
Thank you very much. We'll now open the question and answer portion. Media members, please raise your hand and we'll get you the mic. We ask you to state your name, your affiliation, and who you're directing your question to. So please raise your hand. We'll get you a mic. We'll start up front. Patrick, go ahead. Oh, Patrick.
Patrick Engel, Blue and Gold Illustrated. For either Eddie or Marcus, how much did the, Ohio State connection, or however you guys might have crossed paths because of that, kind of play into this, or your guys' kind of hand in getting this to happen?
Well, it's going to be, I think, a storyline that both of us played Ohio State, but this is so much bigger than Ohio State. This is about Notre Dame and its first opportunity to play in HBCU, and I think that's where our focus is going to be, obviously, as a football program, and that's something I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with it at all. I don't think me and Marcus never really talked about playing each other based off of Ohio State. It's coincidence. When I got wind that we were going to play Notre Dame, immediately I was like, oh my gosh, But when I really looked at the opportunity for our kids to come to this university and have an opportunity to play in the national stage, to show really the nation what Tennessee State is all about holistically, the colleges, the pageantry, our tradition, our rich history, not just in football, but just as a university, was a wonderful opportunity. And it's bigger than that, So, it's not often that you have a chance. It's the first time it's been done to have a chance to compete against the best. And we preach that we want to play the best anytime, anywhere. And it's just a wonderful opportunity that presented itself, and I'm glad that we made it happen.
And then, Marcus, for you, for this kind of historic game in Notre Dame's long history to happen under your watch, what does that mean to you as being a black head coach here?
Well, it's a huge honor, right? In that I understand I'm a representation for many others, and I think this game represents opportunities for all individuals. And so it's a great honor, and I couldn't be more grateful for Jack and Father Jenkins for putting this thing together. And but I take it with the utmost respect and utmost appreciation for this opportunity.
Mike, you're up next.
All right, Mike Berardino, South Bend Tribune. Jack, I'm sure there were plenty of opportunities, plenty of potential HBCUs that you could have considered. Did you engage in those talks with any of the other options, or because of your history with Tennessee State, this was the one? Maybe that first.
No, it involved first some research about the state of programs, and I had no idea how many national championships they had won. And you see that number, and you say, "Oh, this is a pretty good match." They won more than we have, and some of the iconic people who played for them. But I'll tell you the thing that struck me the most as we considered our options was the trajectory of this program. I mean, what they're achieving, whether it's the evaluation of adding hockey in partnership with the Preds and the NHL, the investments they're making into the football program, it just felt right that this was a program in the right position at the right time to do it. And we're really excited about the additional programming we think we can do around this game. I think there's opportunities for our presidents to do some things together, faculty, certainly the bands beyond halftime. We got to take advantage of that. So it's just a great opportunity, and they just felt like the perfect partner. That they could make it work was just fortuitous for us.
And then the MLK Day experience with Howard, how much did that even spur this as something to build on?
Well, Coach Bray claims 100% credit for this, so that's just, I got to give it to him. But we had been talking about this for a while, but the success of that and all the benefits we saw for our student athletes and the university sort of accelerated our desire to get this done.
And then last one for me, Dr. Allen, what can this mean in terms of facilities, the guarantee that you'll get from this game? What will that do to spur the momentum you already have going? And what I've seen reference to maybe artificial turf on your home field. Is this going to get is this going to get some artificial turf for you?
My man.
Yeah.
My man.
Well, no, we continue to make investments not only in our football program, but holistically in our student athlete development programs, like you referenced, our facilities. To advance our programs, we know that we need support. And so this game guarantee is something that will be special, but we're also getting private funding, and people in our Big Blue community are really buying into what we're doing. Like the legendary Jack said, our trajectory is through the roof, and it has a lot to do with our leadership. Our distinguished president, Dr. Glover, when we talked about this hire, we knew that things would come along with hiring Eddie George. But at the end of the day, it's not a gimmick. We want it to be real, and we want it to be sustained excellence. And that's what we're doing at the Tennessee State University.
And let me just add, Dr. Allen negotiated for a bigger guarantee than we budgeted.
I look around here, y'all can make it happen. I think y'all doing really well around here, I see. So it's a drop in the bucket for you.
Tyler Horka is next. Go ahead, Tyler.
Marcus, I'm curious what your experience was with HBCUs before this, and if it wasn't a lot, what does it mean to you to have the experience to kind of, over the next year, learn more about them and then obviously play one in about a year and a half?
Yeah, I think the only opportunity I had to have an HBCU as an opponent was at Cincinnati. We played Alabama A&M, and again, it was a great environment, a great opportunity, but it was a great experience too. And again, I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, where we had Central State University, which is HBCU, that was really successful when I was growing up as a kid. And so that was something I've known about for a long time. And again, it's all about the opportunity for us as the University of Notre Dame to get this chance to play an HBCU, and that's extremely, extremely exciting.
And then Eddie, for you, when Dion landed at Jackson State, obviously that kind of put HBCUs on the map again. Not to say they weren't already, but the popularity around them has definitely risen. For you to be a part of this now, what does it mean to you to, I mean, you got the Notre Dame logos behind you all over the place. You're being able to talk about Tennessee State in the same sentence as Notre Dame. What does it mean for you, and what can it mean for you going forward?
It's a calling, for one. It's a great opportunity. It's a huge responsibility to be in this position. And it was funny because I was walking on the field. I went to midfield. And I had to laugh to myself. I'm like, my gosh, I'm actually going to be coaching on the sidelines in a stadium that Newt Rockne built, you know, and some of the great players that have played here, the great coaches like Lou Holtz and, of course, my good friend Jerome Bettis. And it's just overwhelming to think that I can help bring light to all the great things that we're trying to do at Tennessee State University, that we're going to do, and expose our kids to this. You know, playing in this building, in this venue, this is the cathedral of sports venues, you know, relatively speaking. And and to expose them to this is going to be a wonderful environment. I had the opportunity to come here as a fan. My son played at Vanderbilt. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, they came up and played Notre Dame, and it was an awesome experience as a fan, as a father. So now, as a head coach, bringing my kids up here a year from now, or September of 2023, is going to be great. So I feel honored, and I feel blessed to have this opportunity to play a storied program like Notre Dame, and for them to make this happen. Never played the HBCU or FCS team in the school's history. Okay, and it's just remarkable that they would choose us and try to make this happen. So it's history.
All right, we're going to wrap up with questions from Zoom. Chris Heidel, you're up first. Please state your name, affiliation, and who your question is for, please.
A question for, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, Chris.
I have a question for both coaches. Is this going to be like a home and home thing, like this? You know, in 2023, Tennessee State's going to come to Notre Dame, or Notre Dame going to go there 1 year just to help make this more like a great series between both schools?
And we're trying to make that happen as we speak. We're going to just take a sidebar conversation. You know, we'll negotiate those terms. Maybe a Nissan Stadium or a newly built Hale Stadium, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so that's no. We don't know in terms of that. I leave that up to our AD and to figure all that out. But you know, we're just going to relish in the moment that we have now, and if there's an opportunity to do it home and home, our goal is to get to the FBS level at some point in time. And maybe that could happen.
Up next on Zoom is Jack Freeman. Jack, go right ahead. Jack, you're still on mute. All right, we're going to pivot to Eric Hansen. Eric Hansen, go ahead.
Hi, this question is for Jack Swarbrick. Jack, when you were trying to put this together, you mentioned the schedule matrix. This particular date, right after the Navy game coming back from Ireland, why did that turn out to be the best spot? Was it really the only spot you could find, or was September 9th available? How did you come up with a particular date?
A little bit had to do with the annual exercise we go through of working with Marcus, in this case, to say, when do we want the buys to fall? What should that look like? You know, we had originally talked about a buy in this date, but to take your buy so early in the season isn't a great idea. And so as we started to talk about this, we said, gee, what if we move the buy and use this date? And it meant it worked for Tennessee State and it worked for us, so that's what made it happen.
Mike Oregon, you're up next. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, the two coaches both mentioned that Ohio State connection didn't have anything to do with this, or had little to do with it. But can each of you talk about your relationship and how close you guys are?
Well, he's a little bit older than me.
A little bit.
But I grew up in Ohio, obviously, and grew up watching Eddie George and many other great Ohio State players, and he won the Heisman. So I grew up more of a fan than anything. But we got to know each other, obviously, when I was at Ohio State and even after my time at Ohio State. But, other than that, the personal connection it probably ends right there. But, again, we'll say it again, this game wasn't created because of our Ohio State connection, but other than the opportunity for us to play Tennessee State.
Up next is Chris Harris. Chris Harris, go ahead.
Hey guys, this question is for both Dr. Allen and for Eddie. I was just curious, when Notre Dame first reached out to you guys, what can you share just kind of your initial reaction? Like, wait, we're really talking about? Can you just kind of describe what that was like?
Yeah, so, when we were contacted about this game, like I said, it's a lot of individuals that had a lot to do with this contest being scheduled. And so Dusty Bennett is our chief of staff, but he's our associate AD, and really did a good job in the conversation with ND. Obviously, myself and Eddie, we were part of that discussion as well. But it was wow, they've never done this before, right? Never played an FCS opponent, never played an HBCU with so much heritage that we have at Tennessee State. But at the end of the day, when you heard their willingness to put us on the schedule, you knew that, hey, this could be a huge opportunity, not only for our kids, but for our brand. And so we're looking forward to the opportunity.
Well, for me, from the coaching perspective, I'm like, hey, I got to figure out how to beat Dion. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to think about, Notre Dame, who's played in the playoff and have a ton of great athletes. I mean, they've been on the historic run. But, again, when it became real, I began to think about the benefits of how it could help our program, a great storyline of two storied programs, iconic brands of college football. It became more appealing and digestible at that point in time, and it's almost a year away. So hopefully, we'll look a lot different as a team, be in a different place a year from now, and come in with a great deal of confidence, and just enjoy the moment. I mean, again, this is an historic event, and to be a part of it is awesome.
I'll say this too, Chris. When I mentioned it to our president, Dr. Glover, the first thing that she mentioned was, wow. She said, wow. And she said that Notre Dame, they've never wavered from their expectations from an academic standpoint. And so I think that that's one thing that really stood out to me, is that there's been so many individuals, not just student athletes, but students come through the Notre Dame campus that have done exceptionally well as at Tennessee State. And so I think that that's one thing that really stood out to her. And so as we continue to thrive in athletics, I think that's an important thing for our kids to know, that we want to compete with like institutions that put academics at the forefront of the conversations when they're recruiting a student athlete.
And we'll wrap this up with one final question from Jerome in the back row. Go ahead.
This question is for
press credentials.
Coach. This question is for Coach George, as a soon-to-be alumni of Notre Dame. We believe every game that we're going to win. I know you personally and your commitment to competition. Do you believe that you can win this football game?
Without a doubt. Without a shadow of a doubt.
I've got to get you on the hook for that, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate the time.